All right, so this is going to be a how-to video of how I flush mounted the side scoops on my '69 Mustang. Now, unfortunately, I didn't take a lot of videos as I was cutting all this out and all that sort, so I'm just going to show you the pictures, because I took several pictures of how I accomplished that. So the first thing I did was I mocked up the side scoops, and you can see how terribly they fit. They fit really bad. Actually, even on original cars, original quarters, they look like they're just slapped on there. They look like they were an afterthought. And I've never liked that look on my car with the aftermarket quarters and the original scoops. It looked even worse. The gaps were so bad. And because they are cast metal, you can't just cut a hole out and weld them in. So I was racking my brain on what to do. I tried to fabricate a scoop just to see. There's a lot of complex curves and edges and things, and I spent a couple hours fiddling with the metal, and I was like, okay, no, it's not gonna work. So what I did was I mounted the scoop, I traced around the edge, and then I cut that hole out. Okay, you can see the hole there. Next, what I did was I used these metal spacers, and I'm not sure what they're called. I got them at Harbor Freight. Basically what they do is they pinch two pieces of flat metal together so that they're flat against each other. It'll hold it in place, right? So what that did was that allowed the scoop itself to be recessed into the quarter. And then from the back, I built up weld in, like 10 or 12 places around the outside of the original scoop, and built up the weld so that it was recessed, okay? So then I removed the scoop, and you can see how the hole looked after that. Afterward, I used the all metal to fill in the gaps, and that's what I'm going to show you now. But I wanted to give you some context of how I got to that point. And also, here's some pictures of the back side of the scoop, where I made the scoops are going to be functional, right? The scoops are, well, they are functional now. And you can see the design I used. There are some sort of screws at the back of the scoop that I used and made this funky looking, I don't even know what you call it. I just know it's going to work. It's just sheet metal, bent the pieces, welded, some hammering, some shaping, welding, grinding, and then seam seal all around the edges. And I bonded the back of the scoop to the front of the scoop with that all metal, okay? And this is the all metal. Right here, this is what it looks like. I got it at Eastwood, and that's the hardener, okay? And again, you can see here the finished product with just some light spray paint. Looks really nice. Looks like it's supposed to be there. So we'll get on to the videos. Here you go. Okay, let's talk about flush mounting these side scoops. 1969 Mustang. Well, it's almost one. And I hate the extremely poor fitment of these. Look at that gap. It's a canyon. And there's really no way for that to go away, right? There's no adjustment. So what I'm gonna do is show you how to take this and make it look like this. how smooth that is. Now, it would be nice if they made these out of steel, but they didn't. They're some kind of cast aluminum, so you can't just weld them right in. And you'll notice this gap here, which I'm going to fill in with some all metal or some kind of, not Bondo, something stronger, something metal based that'll bond the two together, fill in the gap there, and then it'll all be nice and smooth. So you'll notice too that these lines all are very close. I don't think they have to be perfect, just very, very close for final paint and body work. But the first thing you're going to want to do, okay, you're going to want to get this so that boy, it's hard to do this. All right, anyway, so that these two lines are very close to being on the same plane, right, with here and the door, okay? So then I just took a Sharpie and I traced all around the edge, which you can see here. You see the Sharpie? It's easier to see in person. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this whole thing out, okay? I'm going to cut it out, and then I am going to get the scoop fitted in the gap, and I'll show you how I do that as soon as I cut it out. By the way, it is not fun welding in there. It's ugly. It's definitely ugly, but I'm gonna take the scoop out, clean up these edges, and then weld the scoop mount with a lot fatter welds. It really doesn't need to be welded all the way around. Just, you know, an inch here, here. It's gonna be more than enough. All right, so there it is. I beefed up the welds pretty much every couple of inches. I've got about a 1/2 inch weld that mates the quarter to the factory structure. I think I'm gonna make these functional, at least just go down into the wheel well. I'm not sure. I don't know how much help they're gonna be. But anyway, that is how I made flush mounted side scoops. I'm really happy. I mean, look how nice this line goes, you know? And like I said, the all metal, it's gonna fill in all this stuff. Looks really good. Let's go look at the other side again. Same thing. I think once it's got some paint on there, it's just gonna blend in so nice. And they're gonna look like they're supposed to be there. So I hope you enjoyed my video. If you've encountered any other ways of doing this, I'd love to see how. I haven't seen any other than this one guy on Instagram. He did it a little differently. I thought this was the simplest, easiest way to recess the scoops. I mean, I didn't have to buy anything. I just cut them out, moved them in a little, welded them back in. That's it. And I'm really pleased with how they look. So here's the driver's side scoop with the, I don't know what you call that, back thing mounted. It's pretty simple. It was not the easiest thing to make. I had to do a couple of paper designs to figure out how it was going to work, but I like it overall. If I had a 3D printer, it probably would have been a lot easier if I could just scan it. So what you're looking at is I used the all metal, gave that 24 hours to bond, and then I just seam sealed the living shit out of it over the metal filler and every weld, just to make sure there's no chance of any water droplets getting in the car. So what I have to do is remove this brace, just 2 spot welds, and then just zip it down. So that's what I'm going to do, so I can get the scoop set in there. Okay, I've mixed up the all metal right over there. Now I'm gonna fill it in as quick as I can, because this stuff hardens really quick. And so what I did on the other side is I just really globbed it in these seams so that when I install the scoop, it fills it in. And you know, I'm not worried about there being globs really, because it the sanding's not that bad, not really. And I can always add a little more if I need to. I wish this stuff had a slower hardening time, if I'm honest, because it's pretty damn stressful trying to get it on here. Maybe I just don't have the exact right putty tool, I don't know. Whatever. Like I said, I can always add a little more if I need to. But I want a nice thick layer so that when I press this thing together, it gets in all the nooks and crannies. It's very important that it does that. And part of what's nice about having this is when I screw it in, it really squeezes everything tight, which is what I want. That looks okay. Over here. Okay. And I also wear multiple pairs of gloves so I don't get this crap everywhere. Come on now. Let's go. There we go. And I learned there's actually a sequence to these screws for the ideal fit, which is how I have to tighten them. Oh, come on now. Let's go. Of course, that one doesn't want to work. There we go. Let's try this other one, see if it wants to work. There we go. That's there. I only have a little left of the glob. Oh yeah, it's already hardening. So I'm just gonna try and shove it in here. There you can see how it just sort of pushed it all in. And I'm sure there's lots of critiques, but it's only my second time using any kind of filler at all. I think it's going okay. So the nice and annoying thing is that it dries quickly. I mean, in 20 minutes, I'll be able to, this will be hard as a rock, and I'll be able to sand on it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let it harden and then sand, and then I'm gonna add another layer. All right, so it took a couple of days for this to cure. I mean, it was probably ready in a day, but It's been cold and humid, so I just wanted to make sure it was rock solid before I started sanding. You can see it really sucked in that gap, which is what I wanted, right? Which means I have to add more. So no problem. I had to do it 3 times on the other side. So I'm gonna sand this all nice and flat and flush, make it look pretty, blow it off, clean it, and then I'm gonna add another layer of the all metal. All right, so the second application, as you can see, I had to spread it out way further. This scoop, unfortunately, I think the bottom part, I set it in a little too far. You can see right here is a bit of a lip. So I had to spread it out, and I'm gonna have to probably build up one more layer, but I still think it's gonna blend in just fine. Up in this corner, some of the all metal, it didn't look like it hardened at all, so I spent more time mixing, and this stuff hardened really quick. Like, I had just a few minutes to work with it. When you see it like this, that means it's starting to get hard. It looks like braille, so it gets pretty hard to work with very fast. So I probably should just cut it down to doing half at a time, but we'll see how it goes. Either way, still happy with how it's working out. So here is the passenger side, finished, flush, mounted scoop. It's pretty smooth all the way around. It's just a couple little areas, maybe like in here I could add a little more, there I could add a little more. It's my first time working with any kind of filler, even though it's metal filler. It is difficult to sand. It's strong stuff. A lot of elbow grease is needed, and I didn't want to use any tools to make the sanding faster. I felt like I might take off too much, but I mean, it's totally seamless. And it's interesting how something might look flush, but your fingers can feel if there's a difference. I really like these crisp lines here. And then inside, you can see the little hole down there, so air goes. It's still bolted, okay? So what I'm gonna do is probably run a tube that goes right there. So it's at the bottom of the tire instead of the top. I don't want to see the tire from there, right? So do that. And I'm about to start the. So overall, I'm really, really pleased with this. You know, I did have a thought that, you know, that outline that it has. You know, the outline. I'm wondering how it's going to look with that now totally gone on a black car. I guess we'll see. Really happy with it.